White Lies and Tokyo from the album 5. And Harry and Charles join me from White Lies. How are you?
Good evening, hello.
Hello.
Very well, yeah.
Good to talk to you. And that's almost a year that album came out, February the 1st, wasn't it, last year?
Yeah.
Yeah. Time flies.
Time really does fly.
Seriously
We've
does.
kind of released another album since then in re-releasing our first one.
Yes,
It felt like
yeah,
a release
yeah.
anyway.
And for you, time must fly because you're constantly travelling.
We've had the busiest year, I think, in 2019 since probably our first year as a band. It was an endurance test at times, but really wonderful. And the reaction to the album 5 has been almost better than any other, perhaps since the first one. So it's a good time to be in White Lies.
How do you cope with all of that travelling though? Because I'm just looking at what's coming up this year already. There's a whole pile of dates taking you all over the place.
Yeah. I don't know, I think you just need to make sure you sleep enough. It's one of the most important things. I tend to sleep probably too much. And keep yourself sane, go for walks, read books, listen to music a lot, and also I think it's quite important to spend time away from the people that you're living on a bus with sometimes.
Yes, of course.
Centre yourself.
I always remember when I'm name dropping here, when I went to Philadelphia to interview the Rolling Stones, and Charlie said to me, he said, as soon as I get to the hotel, put my bags in, and he goes off to art galleries.
Yeah. That's fairly similar, I think, to to the sort of White Lies style of touring. Perhaps we'd get on with them. Yeah, definitely, and good food as well. You've got to have good food. Got to put good fuel in the tank.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you've ever read the Tim Burgess book about the charlatans on the road, and they wouldn't do it now. They're all good boys now, but it was seriously rock and roll in every way, shape, and form. Were you ever tempted to go down that route, or have you always played it sensibly in that respect?
Not really. I think there was one time when we were playing a festival in some jaw-dropping sort of island off the coast of Norway, and I pulled an all-nighter, stayed up, probably had, 8 pints at most, maybe only about 6, and I think it took me about a month to recover from that. So the thought of anything much more than that is, I think I'd just be a mess.
Because people always assume it's wild, and I remember somebody telling me about Bobby Gillespie saying they always think he's probably up there doing drugs and drinking and everything, and apparently he was always reading a book or doing crossword puzzles or something.
I had a friend in school that went on to work with David Guetta, and he told me that, because everyone thought someone like David Guetta would be absolutely caning it, and I heard all these wonderful stories about how David Guetta, no matter where in the world he was, would fly home on a Thursday to pick his kids up from school.
Oh, how lovely.
was just sort of downing mineral water all day long, constantly.
Oh.
So sorry to dispel any sort of preconceptions about him, but apparently he's an absolute he's clean as a whistle.
Well, I think you can only do something for so long before it burns you out.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, do you have to?
It's about 1 or 2 days, I think.
Do you have to? If you're going on a long tour, do you train for it?
We do rehearsals.
Yeah.
Usually after we've finished making an album, we're getting ready to tour it. We might rehearse it for 4 or 5 days, but that's the most kind of rehearsal that we do. Pretty much throughout the whole of our touring cycle. And then it does, unfortunately for the people who come and see the first shows, it does take a bit of time to settle in and to kind of get it rolling. But you do kind of, I don't know if it's like a physical thing, but you do kind of just get used to it, and you just learn the songs better and play them better.
Yeah, because some people do train, don't they?
We usually drop 3 or 4 songs from the set in the first couple of weeks of touring because they just don't work, and you have to kind of figure that out as well.
So is that the audience reaction or what? Or is it you just don't feel right playing them?
It's just a feeling, and it's a shame sometimes because there are often songs that you really like, and often songs that our fans really like, and it's hard to explain to people, I suppose, that perhaps don't play music, and they just say, why don't you just play it? I'm sure it's a good song, it sounds good on the record, of course it will sound good live. And it's just I don't know, there's just something, some songs don't quite translate in a live environment like that. And I've heard other bands, many bands will agree and say the same. But there's a theory that it's something to do with sort of mid-tempo songs. It's good to have very fast songs and good to have very slow ones, but the really mid-tempo ones, no one really knows what to do. 'Cause you can't sort of go mad to it, but at the same time you can't Kiss.
Yes.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I see what you mean. But I can imagine Tokyo will go down a storm live.
It's a banger.
Yeah, it does
Yeah.
do well. Yeah.
That's when we spend the largest percentage of the lighting budget as well. So we really ram it home, that one. It's very good.
It's such a brilliant tune, and I've told Harry this before, but I actually got the lyrics up on screen, and Paul and I were in the kitchen singing along, full belt.
Your poor neighbours.
We're like the Teletubbies, again. Yes, because you're into that lighting thing is very important to you, isn't it?
I think it's worth doing properly. Like, and we're a band. I think most of our work and most of what most of what we do is always looking towards the live show, and so we always want to make it like as impactful as possible. And we always want people to come back. So we want to give our fans something that they'll be thinking about, like in the week and the months even after the show, and think about buying another ticket basically.
And you see regulars.
Oh
yeah.
Goodness, yes. Yeah, there's lots of regulars, and that, you know, we've had fans that we see still regularly at shows, and we've been seeing them for 10 years. It's really wonderful, and we did such a lot of, I suppose, groundwork, you could call it, in places like Belgium and Denmark and the Netherlands and Germany, right at the very start, where we were playing in, you know, bars basically. That was a wonderful time in the record industry history, where they would still kind of, you know, put some money up front for you to go and speculate, basically, like minors. And so because of that, we made a lot of fans early on, and when people discover you when you're playing in bars and when you're a small band and when your equipment's breaking on stage and things, it really endears people to you, and that creates a sort of glue and, you know, adoration, hopefully, that lasts a lot longer than you know, just having a sort of a hit on the radio kind of thing. So we're very fortunate, and yeah, as Harry says, it means that we've basically spent this year doing 2 tours, supporting 2 albums, even though one's a reissue.
Yes.
And you know, thousands and thousands of people have come twice to a White Lies show this year, which is ridiculous in a way.
It's terrific. The next one that you're doing in the UK is in London, isn't it? At the Union Chapel.
Yeah.
It is.
That's going to be great.
It's going to be lovely.
I'm not really sure what we're going to do for it yet. We haven't really given it much thought. But, I think it'd be nice to like strip it back a little bit. I think.
Yeah.
I think what we're going to do is play exactly as we do normally, but just
20%
less energy or something, or volume. Yeah.
Remind me where it is, the Union Chapel. Is it up in
Islington?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just on Upper Street.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
it's beautiful.
Yes, it is. It's gorgeous. And I went to see Tom Jones there. And
Why
a woman
not?
sat in front of me.
I bet he doesn't even need a mic in there.
Well, it was just incredible. It was when he was doing all that, you know, the sort of soul stuff, the Ethan Johns and everything.
The Praise and Blame album.
Yeah.
I love that album.
I couldn't see him. Some woman
Right.
had a big iPad and put it up in front of, she was in front of me. All I could see was his legs.
Oh dear.
He's got good legs though.
You were talking then about, you know, there's less money in the pockets of the bands now to be able to go and do an awful lot of stuff. And I mean, I've been around much longer than you, and I've seen it dramatically change over the years.
Of course, yeah.
And how does that affect you?
The thing is, though, is as perhaps money and funding in the way that it used to be, which was probably quite reckless, to be honest, for many years, as that has gone down, also the resources for musicians and for artists are so much greater and so much more accessible. You know, you can obviously, it's been said a million times, record a perfectly good finished album on your own in a bedroom. With a computer, and you know, obviously in times past you'd have to spend thousands to get yourself into a recording studio, and whilst there's still a lot to be said for, you know, for doing things properly and doing things to a certain extent in an analog way, now you don't have to, and so that allows people to be creative much more readily. And then I guess, you know, we've just been touring with a great band called Boniface from Canada. They supported us twice, and you know, they've just done the whole tour in Europe, basically driving themselves around Europe in a Ford Fiesta more or less. And it's kind of amazing to see, you know, because they're an example of a already quite self-sufficient band, and have, you know, bless them for doing some horrendous sort of 14-hour drives through the Alps or whatever that they did, but think if you've got the get up and go, and you make use of the resources that are available, and you don't have an attitude which is someone's going to do this for me, then sky's the limit.
And what about on websites? I mean, because so many people now do their own merchandising and are selling that, aren't they? Is that profitable?
Yeah, seemingly so.
Yeah, we do a little bit of that ourselves.
We sort of only cottoned onto that in the last
couple of years. We're a bit behind the curve.
We kept hearing from people other bands, other artists saying to us, like, God, that merch money, that's good. And we were like, is it? Like,
a
do you want to
little
draw
light
a t-shirt for us? But we've sort of we've revamped the brand a little bit recently, and people start liking it. And people.
I think we sell the most of like we're like the biggest retailer of our records now.
Yeah,
which I think is something quite new for bands like that. I think that's becoming much more common. To sell their own records.
Well, I mean, so many bands went through. I mean, they weren't getting huge deals, so then they were doing tours, and then the record companies get wise of that, and you get these 360-degree deals and what have you. There's always something always gets put in the way of a band.
Yeah. I mean, there is a little bit of that sort of meme, you had one job really when it comes to record labels. Like your job is to set up and manufacture and help produce an album and then sell it. And I think turning around to start saying, can we have some of your live income as well? It's a bit like, well, why don't you become a booking agent? Really? That's what booking agents do, and they get money for that. So you have to admire the sort of perhaps slight industriousness of them, but actually I think it's kind of rubbish. And it's for them to figure out with changes in streaming and things like that how they monetize that. Not for us.
No. No. So you had this double A-sided single, didn't you?
Yeah,
we did. You did.
I can't remember why we released it really. I think it was an add-on to the album, but it was some tracks that we recorded over last summer with a really good producer.
And have you kept a white vinyl one for yourselves?
Yeah, I have one actually.
You do. I'm sure you have one. If not, I'll give you one. It's only recently that I've actually started to have to keep a little sort of catalogue of these things, because sometimes we play we play gigs and we meet fans before or after the show, and they sort of produce these vinyl 7-inch singles and things from the past, and I look at it and I think, I don't have that. Damn it, I should really have that.
You should.
Yeah, I think my parents have a fairly good stash, but I can't really. It's a bit, unfair of me to rely on them as being the archive.
The archivist. But it's funny because parents, I mean, even if it's the tiniest photograph in a paper, or you've only said one word, it's all been kept.
Yeah. I think I'd keep a clipping if a newspaper wrote about us these days, actually.
All of my photographs are in boxes in the loft, and they're all just stuck together now. They've been in there for so long, you try to prise them apart.
Yeah.
Now, you're going to, it's very kind of you, you're going to perform Hurt My Heart live, aren't you?
I'm going to give it a good go, yeah.
Nice one. All right.
Yeah. Are you ready for that now, then?
Certainly are.
Here we go. Found my way under your world, tried to change, I tried to unfurl, but how I miss that sting when the phone won't ring, and I wish I'd bruise when it's me, not you. I miss that burn as I lose my turn. When the morning clears, I feel that you're not here. Oh, I mean it. I've lost all my feeling. Make me hurt, I need it. If only to heal it. Make me learn as I try. I try to hurt my heart. 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 Found our place, the grit to the pole. And an empty chase, a pain you can curl. But how I miss that sting when the phone won't ring, and I wish I'd bruise when it's me, not you. I miss that burn as I lose my turn, and when the morning clears, I feel that you're not here. Oh, I need it. I've lost all my feeling. Make me hurt. I need it. If only to heal it. Make me learn as I try. I try to hurt my heart. 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 Make me learn as I try. I try to hurt my heart. I try to hurt my heart. I try to hurt my heart. I try to hurt my heart.
Fabulous. That's absolutely lovely. Harry there with Hurt My Heart. And Charles and Harry from White Lies are my guests. How's Jack, by the way? Is he staying home to watch Corrie?
I don't know what Jack's up to, actually. Is this football on or something?
Oh, he does five-a-side on Mondays.
Is he any good?
I've never seen him play.
I've never seen him play. Let's go with yes.
Yeah, let's go with yes. Yeah.
Let's go with very good.
Yeah, he's marvellous.
Yeah.
Liverpool are thinking of signing him up.
Yeah.
They need all that help at the moment.
Yeah, we're just going through the contract.
So are you already planning on the next album?
I wouldn't say planning. It's in our minds. But the interesting thing about this song "Hurt My Heart" and doing a double A side is that's actually the first time in a 11-year now career that we've released anything really in that way, sort of outside of an album. As a sort of standalone thing. And bands, it's very common for bands to do EPs, multiple EPs, and standalone singles and things like that. And I think we've always felt we're very much still big fans of the album format, but perhaps it's been a nice experience for us to have done this and to just work on something as a standalone. So I don't know, I think we're a little bit more open as to what the next White Lies music might become.
I think I always think about it when you're listening to lots of music, like which we are at the moment because we're not really doing very much, which is really nice, but when you hear something really good, you always think, oh, I'd love to do something like that. And that's like you kind of store that mentally in the back of your head.
Yeah,
you think, oh, that's one for the bank,
Yeah.
Do any of those that you store get sort of stuck to one side? Might not make an album, but then you drag them out for another one.
Oh yeah. Well, these two songs that we recorded over the summer were kind of leftovers from the previous album. In fact, one of them might have even been from an album. It was even the album before that, Friends, maybe.
Maybe,
but,
yeah.
Like we tend to write quite a lot of material, but we don't really. I think we kind of know very early on if a song's going to work. Yeah. And we kind of ditch it really early, so it's never kind of fully fleshed out.
Yeah.
We just kind of try and work very quickly, and if we're not really feeling something, then we put it on the back burner quite early on. Yeah.
And what do you think about bands who are doing this sort of revisiting our albums? Quite a few people did it towards the end of last year, where they would go back to an album and do it in a completely different way.
I don't think it's an awful idea.
I don't.
I think if the songs are good, then the songs are good, and it's not that different to just having songs covered by other artists. Really, you're just reinterpreting it, and I think I really like that director's cut, the Kate Bush record that she put out well, that's quite a long time ago now, maybe like 9 years ago, which was, I think, reworked songs from the Red Shoes and a couple of the other albums. I guess we'd be like open to it. It's just, I think you have to really, I think at that point, not be so excited to write new material that you are more excited about revisiting old material, if you know what I mean. And I think for us, still being relatively young men and young in our career, new material is still more exciting.
Yes.
And I think it's kind of, I don't know, I think on the other side of the coin, it's quite nice that an album really marks a moment in time, like, and it always does for us when we listen back to those recordings, especially the first one. It really like transports you back to, you know, even for all of its faults and all of its flaws.
It was terrific, though.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrific.
Thank you.
And you say, you know, you're young men. I saw you when you were boys, when you were fear of flying.
I know. I think it'd probably be most interesting to try and revisit songs that we don't like so much anymore. Actually, I think it would almost be a bit. Yeah, I think that would be more interesting to kind of pick a couple of songs from the past and go, well, we actually feel that these have been, you know, relative failures, and how can we perhaps try and save them now, rather than, you know, you just don't want to pick apart one of your fans' favourite songs and sort of, you know, tear it up in front of them. I think that would be perhaps a bit distressing for some.
Yeah.
You really do love your fans, don't you?
Very much, yeah. I think, I don't know, I think they understand us, and we get along with them, at least most of them, very well. I think there's a sort of shared sense of humour, and I don't know, you know, we've spent a lot of time in the past touring with bands that have really, really hardcore fans, and I mean in terms of, you know, the sort of face tattoo type hardcore, and sort of queuing up outside, you know, shows overnight before and things like that. And you know, whilst yes, the adoration and the sort of dedication is in a way impressive, I think we'd all just feel so morbidly guilty about that kind of thing. Yeah. I mean, I feel, you know, occasionally someone will produce like an iPhone or something like that and say, "Can you sign my iPhone?" And I think, oh, you know, don't ruin it. You know, your lovely phone.
Exactly.
So the thought of seeing people with face tattoos I think would make me sick to my stomach.
I think it must be weird for somebody like Paul Weller. If you ever go to a Paul Weller gig, there's a whole load of men trying to look like Paul Weller.
Yeah, they've got the same haircut.
Yeah, exactly the same haircut.
You can't book a haircut in the week leading up to a Paul Weller show in Manchester. All the barbers are fully booked.
But there are certain people who've always had, I mean, Robert Smith. You get them with the, you know, the spiky black hair and the bright red lipstick or whatever. Or Boy George has always had it, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And you know, it must be going on with other people now that I'm not aware of.
I think Billie Eilish.
Oh, yeah.
She
She looks cool though, doesn't she?
Yeah, because I think what she has in common with someone like Robert Smith or a lot of other people is that they're kind of eccentric, you know, and they have a weird look, and they're kind of left field. And
they genuinely are. Do you know what I mean? It's not an
absolutely.
act.
Yeah. People really latch onto that. They think it's like kind of like a sort of secret, you know.
And there's also, I think, with her, there's kind of no, in a way, there's sort of no set style to it exactly. It's just like, I'm going to wear literally whatever I want. And I think that's just wonderful especially for sort of young girls to see and just go, great, I'm going to go into a shop and just buy clothes that don't really match at all.
A huge t-shirt.
Exactly, and just I'm going to be so comfortable all day long, and I fully support anyone being very comfortable in large t-shirts. So,
totally.
I think it's a good thing.
Totally. I always want to go up to people in high heels and go, take them off, you're not doing yourself any good.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't look down when people have high heels. It gives me sort of anxiety. Just see a snapped leg, you know.
Billie Eilish must have had a remarkable week last week when she finds out that she's doing the James Bond theme.
Yeah. I'm really interested to see how that's going to turn out.
Apparently we were second on the list. Just missed out.
Just pipped to the post.
Just missed out.
Charles has actually mentioned to me twice that he thinks that we should write a Bond theme just for the hell of it.
Yeah, just
Do
release
it.
it anyway.
Just submit it.
Yeah.
Do it.
I mean,
Why
the
not?
film is called No Time to Die.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's a band that, you know, we're good at time and dying, and not bad at two either, I think we should do it. And also we've got our long-time secret member of the band and producer collaborator Ed Buller. We finally brought him home from California, where he was living a miserable existence as Hans Zimmer's love slave.
Yeah.
And he's coming back to London, and so he'll be presumably just twiddling his fingers,
waiting for the call from
waiting
us,
for that
for the
call,
Bond theme.
where we say, Ed, we'd like you to do a Bond theme. An unofficial Bond theme with us.
Do it.
Yeah, he's a massive John Barry fan, so he'll go. He could
be the old school Bond.
It will be very old fashioned.
Yeah.
I was looking the other day at the least successful Bond themes. Sheena Easton.
I didn't even know
the
she'd
least
done that.
successful.
Which film?
I didn't even know. I was thinking, which one was that? I can't remember.
like License to Kill is my favourite.
He did that.
Gladys Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
okay.
great tune.
It's absolutely fantastic, that one.
Yeah. And who are you listening to at the moment, then?
I've been tending to listen to a lot of metal and like classical music recently, and I don't know if you'll ever play it, but I really love. There's a record by Blood Incantation that came out last year.
Jans will know all about it.
It's so good. It's a really great record. Like they produce it all analog, and I don't know. It's worth a listen. Definitely.
Okay, I'm going to have a look for that now.
Yeah.
And what else is on the cards this year then, apart from touring?
We've got a few things. It's not a huge touring year, but we've got a few choice shows, some of which that aren't announced yet in other parts of the world where we have wonderful fan bases, that are going to be extremely exciting. I wish I could reveal all, but there's things, especially in the autumn, which are going to be, we're already looking forward to, put it that way, and things, and festivals in the summer, and we've got two. When we did this To Lose My Life anniversary tour, we did sort of say to the powers that be, one thing about it is that we'd like to do it in lovely venues, basically in places where there's a sort of sense of occasion even when people walk in the door, just looking around them. And so we're doing two shows in Italy, one in Rome and one in Bologna in May, and they are both really sort of gorgeous old theatres with lots of gold leaf or at least gold paint and red velvet seats.
Oh,
and
gorgeous.
proper lovely old theatres, and then flying straight from Italy over to Greece, to Athens to do, I think it's an outdoor show, isn't it? It's
that would be
sort
perfect.
of a sort of a scaled down Parthenon, a mini amphitheatre. The Acropolis's younger cousin.
That's going to be such a perfect site to do a gig.
Absolutely, I hope so. Yeah, I mean, as long as there's no sort of mosquitoes or anything like that.
The planes fly pretty low, don't they, through Athens? They actually sort of are almost, you feel as though you can touch them.
Yeah.
Because the airport's so close to the the city. But you're going all over the place. Denmark, Netherlands.
We're always in the Netherlands. I always say to my friends, if they're asking what I'm up to at the weekend and I say I'm busy, I'm saying just assume I'm in the Netherlands.
I think we did about 30 shows in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Benidorm.
Yeah, I mean, it's lovely. The Netherlands is it's absolutely lovely.
Yeah.
I love Netherlands.
Yeah, and it seems every album we release, we add a new city to the tour in the Netherlands that we've never been to before. And you sort of think to yourself before going like, there can't be another lovely city in the Netherlands. This one must be rubbish. And then you get there and you go, bloody hell.
Gorgeous.
For all those shows that we haven't played in like Rotterdam for years.
No, for about 10 years.
10 years, yeah. Even so.
But Maastricht,
still stuff
Utrecht,
to explore.
Yeah.
What's this place? Viet?
Yeah.
Are you going to? Is it Viet?
Is that where we're going?
I imagine that's.
In which case, that's a new city.
Yeah, that's a new place.
It's a Boss
New
Pop
place to
festival.
explore.
For Boss Pop, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so there you go. We're going somewhere new.
And Benidorm.
Yeah.
Yes,
should be good fun.
That will be fun. And then Bradford. Yeah, Bradford.
Yeah. Those dates will look lovely on the back of a t-shirt.
Brilliant stuff. Well, look, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and I really thank you for taking the time to do this.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
Tell me about Falling Out Without Me, which I'm going to play now.
Oh well, that's very much a song that was a sort of a working demo for this most recent album 5, that we sort of just couldn't quite get right, but we knew there were certain parts of it that we really loved, the sort of the intro synth hook and the chorus, and so when we committed to doing a week in a studio to come up with a couple of new tracks, we just sort of chipped away at that, and we actually had a lot of fun kind of building it in the studio with this producer Andrew Wells from California. So yeah, it's very much a sort of studio project, and was kind of a pain to learn how to play live, to be honest with you. There's so much going on in it. It's such a sort of ornate production. But I think it's a pretty wonderful pop song, kind of following on the heels from something like Tokyo. It's definitely pop.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much once again, Harry and Charles.
Pleasure.
Good luck
Thank
with
you.
everything you do this year. See you soon.
Yes,
See you soon,
see you
yeah.
soon.
All right, lots of love. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.